What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and we want to congratulate you. You made it. Dallas Cowboys football is here. It is week one. It is time for the Dallas Cowboys to do what we have all been waiting for a very long time to do, and that is to get back, to win the Super Bowl, get number 6, on and on and on. The road starts where the road ended last season, and that is in Tampa Bay, taking on the defending Super Bowl champion Buccaneers, who won the game of all games in the very same stadium that this game is going to be happening in. This is a big one. There's no doubt about it. The Cowboys are starting their season off with arguably their most difficult game. Yes, the Cowboys play the Kansas City Chiefs, but there is only one defending world champion, and that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sports books varied in terms of where they have the Cowboys as far as underdogs. Some have them as 7.5-point underdogs. Some have them as 8-point underdogs. Either way, the Cowboys are the biggest underdogs of the week one matchups across the entire NFL. Is that disrespectful? Is it not? We'll talk about it in our preview show with our special guest, Dave Sturchio. We also have our film room segment to get into with Matt Minnick. But before we do, we have some things for the Cowboys to focus on, some keys to victory, if you will. And the first is that the Cowboys need to win the turnover battle. This is an elite team. This is a very good team. This is a team led by the GOAT, by Tom Brady, a quarterback who specializes in doing GOAT things. GOAT things mean not turning the ball over. We need to see this Cowboys defense be what Mike McCarthy has hyped it up to be. We know the Cowboys defense generated turnovers over the final stretch of last season, but they played some really bad quarterbacks and some really bad teams. The Cowboys have continually struggled for the last couple of years now to generate turnovers when it comes to the good teams that they're playing against. It doesn't get much better than this. We need to see the Cowboys win the turnover battle as a whole, which means not only do they have to take the ball away on defense, but they have to not give the ball away on offense. Even with Dak Prescott last season, the Cowboys were struggling in this department. They gave the ball away often throughout the first 4 weeks of the season, which was a lot of the reason why they were behind so many times in different games, besides the fact that their defense couldn't really stop anybody. So limit the turnovers on offense, get some turnovers on defense. The Cowboys did get an interception in week one last season, so hopefully they're able to do that again wearing their Navy jerseys like they did against the Los Angeles Rams in 2020. Now, something else the Cowboys are going to have to do, stop the Buccaneers pass rush. It is tough. It is formidable. It is maybe the best in the NFL. Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea. I mean, you have a lot of really good players on this team. And at the time of this recording, it still seems like Zach Martin is not going to play for the Cowboys on Thursday night. That makes this task a little bit more tall. A little bit more tall, whatever the case may be. Look, the Cowboys have to be ready for this. And this is something that could be a challenge all season. There aren't a lot of Cowboys fans who believe in the tackle depth on this team. And that's a different issue than Zach Martin missing time. But we saw the Cowboys struggle along the offensive line. Granted, they were dealt a really bad hand in 2020 last year. And that was something they could not overcome. This is maybe the best pass rush in the NFL, as we have mentioned, but the Cowboys have to find a way. Is that bringing Dalton Schultz back to block? Is that being quicker with the release for Dak Prescott? Is that just being aware of the environment and the circumstances in an overall offensive state of mind? Maybe. But one way or another, this is a place that the game can be won for the Buccaneers, or whether the game can be swung in the favor of the Cowboys. This is maybe the most important thing, because we believe that the Cowboys offense can score points, and they're going to have to score points if they want to beat the Buccaneers team as a whole. If they're not able to keep the ball, if they're not able to have any sort of patience, if they're not able to allow for things to develop, it's going to be all the more difficult for them. Final thing for me, keys for the Cowboys, points to victory, whatever you want to call them. Mike McCarthy has to be aggressive within reason. We know that Bruce Arians is a bit of a gambling sort of head coach, not quite Riverboat Ron, but Bruce Arians is a coach who likes to go for it. We learned that Mike McCarthy likes to go for it in different circumstances last season during his inaugural flight with the Cowboys. We also learned that he is not the only coach on the staff that likes to do that. John Fossil is a little bit bold. We know that Cowboys like to be bold in certain stretches, in certain moments. There are times for being aggressive, but then there are times where you're being a little bit hazardous with it, a little bit reckless. This is an elite team, and to beat elite teams, you have to take chances. And so taking chances means playing aggressive, but not playing stupid. There are certain fourth downs that make sense to go for. There are certain times that make sense to not kick a field goal and to elect to still try to score a touchdown. Those are the opportunities. We know that Mike McCarthy studied analytics and all the jokes and all the memes. We need to see that play itself out with the full offense back again, obviously understanding that Zach Martin is not going to be there. But There are a lot of things to discuss. There are a lot of things to kind of figure out and uncover and unpack when it comes to this game and what we think the Cowboys are either going to do or not going to be able to do. So in order to do that, we brought in a very special guest. You can hear him every Sunday on the Jersey Boys podcast at Blogging the Boys. Subscribe to our podcast network. We're available on all major podcast platforms. You can see him from time to time here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. It is the one and only Dave Sturchio. To be joined now by the one, the only, the legendary, supremely handsome, debonair, well-dressed, well-liked, voted most popular by his high school classmates, I'm sure. Also most likely to be a superstar, which has come to fruition. From Chop Sports, from Blogging the Boys, from Jersey Boys, it is Dave Sturchio. Sturch, thanks for taking the time to join our preview show.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a long time since we've had some meaningful football, man. So I'm ready to rock.
Yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun, obviously, and there's obviously a bit of caution from some Cowboys fans. I think a lot of people going into this game with some trepidation. Depending on where you look, Cowboys 7.5 to 8-point underdogs. I'll start there. Do you think that's fair? Considering they're going up against the world champs in the stadium, they won that game, and fans are back. That's an element that's never before existed, like fans returning after not being there. Is that fair? Is that too much? Is that too little? How do you see it?
I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's a little high for obviously expectations are one thing, but like to have a spread that high, usually like the bookies usually give you the 3 for being home, so you're telling me there's probably another touchdown on top of that. I don't know. I don't think it's very fairly treated to our Cowboys, who are obviously a lot different on paper than they were last year.
Yeah, everybody talks about the Bucs and how they're bringing back all 22 starters from both offense and defense. Certainly what started in the Super Bowl. I've said this not to like pat myself on the back, but the Cowboys are returning all 11 intended starters from last season. Lyle Collins obviously didn't start, but this was the group that they were going to start the season with in 2020. Now, granted, at the time of this recording, it still looks incredibly doubtful that Zach Martin is going to play. So that particular place or piece has been adjusted. Assuming he doesn't play, which is the safe assumption right now, how big of an impact do you really think that is on this game?
I mean, I think Zach Martin is probably either 1 or 1A as far as guards in football, next to maybe like Quentin Nelson or something like that from Indianapolis. But I think that it's a big loss. But the only silver lining I could possibly say is that there was a lot of attention being drawn to Connor McGovern as far as like maybe even drawing some trade interest, so there was people out there within the NFL that thought highly of this guy. So now we're really going to have to think really highly of this guy because, between Vea and Sue and that defensive pass rush, we got our hands full. But I think McGovern's going to kind of show everybody why, like, they've been sticking with me and they stuck with me to stay here. And, it's just time to shine, really.
I agree. That is nice. I mean, that's a bit of solace, I guess. But so I don't really count the games the Cowboys played without Zach Martin last year as like an evaluation on who they are, just because, I mean, it was Andy Dalton. But the lone game that Dak Prescott at least has played without Zach Martin, incidentally, was against Indianapolis in 2018 when the Cowboys got skunked 23-0. Now, I've said for years, like, that was coming off that emotional overtime win against Philly. They knew they had some time to wrap up the division. I think the Cowboys kind of mailed that in because they knew that they had a little bit of room to work with. But this is obviously very different. And so before we kind of talk about players to watch out for, how important is this game? Because my view on this is there are 3 games that you could kind of call losses on the season for the Cowboys. There's this one, there's the Chiefs game, and then maybe you want to put the Chargers game in that category next Sunday. Then there's games that are kind of coin flips, the Falcons game, the Cardinals game, maybe the Vikings game. And then there's games that you should win. You should beat the Broncos. You should beat the Panthers. You should beat the Giants and the Eagles and Washington, et cetera. And so, I think the way you go from maybe a good team to a really good team is you steal some of those games. You win the coin flips. You steal one of those games you're supposed to lose. This is definitely one of those. Saw a lot of people picking against the Cowboys. So if they lost or if they won, if they win, it's gravy on top. But, how important is it? Like, is it the end of the world? Should anybody panic if they lose?
I'm going to panic. No, I would say here's my thing. My dad always said, it's a funny thing. We say it all the time. Now, whenever the Cowboys, for whatever reason, start off 0-2, our first thing is, well, they started off 0-2 in 93 and they won the Super Bowl, right? So like,
first team ever to do that, by the way.
Right. So that's like the one thing we hang our hats on all the time. Anytime it would have happened. Because there's a 17th game this year and because there's one more game to, like, it's either if a team finishes 10-7 this year, they're going to feel like a 10-6 team. You know what I'm saying? Like that win total is going to mean everything. You got to compile them over the course of 18 weeks. But to lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think it depends on how they lose.
Sure.
If they lose a heartbreaker, you're going to be like, wow, they ran with the champs. This team could be for real. If they get run out of Tampa, then you're going to say like, oh no, like, is this the team? And again, same thing you said with the Chargers. I think personally, I mean, we can get into predictions all we want, but like, I think the game they trip up against because they might be riding a high horse going into next week is the Charger game. So
that's my thought too.
Yeah. So like if you get real high and then you get real, the Weed End Boys, the Hot Boys, every single fan base known the man with the Cowboys, if we somehow steal a game in Tampa, I feel like we'll trip over our own 2 feet and lose to the Chargers.
No, I think that's well said, especially from the perspective of, this game's on Thursday. Next week's game's on Sunday. So there'll be a week and a half of Cowboys love. This is the team to beat. They're finally doing it. Dak's back. Dak was down his starting guard, Zach Martin, again, in all assumption. Patrick Mahomes couldn't do it without his offensive lineman. Right. What does that say about, like, it will be nothing but that. And then they'll just go, like, be flat against the Chargers. That's the true Cowboys way. This game is an opportunity to see Micah Parsons, and he's certainly going to be somebody that we hope makes an impact defensively. Who are the players on the Bucs that you are worried about? Who are the Micah Parsoneses that you're worried? Tom Brady goes without saying. Is there a particular Buccaneers pass catcher that you are worried about? Is there a particular Buccaneers defender? Like, where do you think the game swings maybe in Tampa's direction because of a potential performance from one of those players?
Well, considering, Tom Brady goes without saying, but I honestly, if we're talking Tom Brady for a second, statistically, historically, the guy's gotten off to some slow starts. So I'm not like thinking that Tom Brady's going to set the world on fire tomorrow night, or I'm sorry, our game time. But if I had to put my finger on it, I'm nervous about our defensive interior. So that running game that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have between Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, and we all saw playoff Lenny last year, the guy was running rampant all over the place. So I am a little worried about our run defense still, because again, you lost Gallimore for a little while. Tristan Hill starts off on the pup. We do have some serviceable guys in there, and we're excited. Specifically on the Jersey Boys podcast, we're excited because they're new names. Like these are guys that we don't have a rap sheet on them where we're like, oh, well, last year they did this. We don't know. Together, we don't know. But the thing that scares me the most, I think is the Tampa Bay running attack more than the passing attack, because we've seen a lot of the depth out of the corners. And if the pass rush can get to a statue like Brady, who doesn't really typically move around, maybe those corners actually show up and show out. But I'm a little skeptical on the run defense right now.
Yeah, and I think that's where, Micah Parsons is going to be, the X factor, so to speak, for the Cowboys, if he can generate pressure on Brady, because this is week one. Timing isn't all the way there for every team in the NFL. Randy Gregory, I think, is kind of the sort of sneaky X factor. We know DeMarcus Lawrence obviously is a great edge rusher, but if Randy Gregory can truly be that guy, the guy that everybody thinks he can be, the guy that everybody wants him to be, if he can affect Brady in this game, I think that might be, I don't want to say enough, but we need to see ultimately shorter fields, turnovers, 3 and outs. You got to give this team, this offense, as great as we think it is, the ball with 60 yards to go, 50 yards to go, because if you're having to go 79 yards a clip against this Bucs defense, it's not an easy day at the office.
I think it's this is reminiscent of that Eagles game where we recovered that opening kick, and then like Leighton Vander Esch had a pick, and there was like a couple things that went our way right away in which we never looked back. That's what I think that's the key to winning this game, is like which way is that fumble going to bounce? So when there's a misdirection and there's a fumble, typically the good teams will just pounce on it, but are we going to try to pick it up, kick it around a little bit, and then the Bucs recover? You know what I mean? Like, it's all going to be about the turnover game, how many bad throws we can force Brady to make, and we know he doesn't make a lot of them, but if you get a hand in his face here and there, we can cause some havoc. And I think we said it before, flip of the coin, bounce of the ball. The Cowboys do have a legitimate shot. That's why that 8-point spread is just like, what are you doing to me right now?
Yeah, I will take, I've picked the Cowboys to win, but I will obviously take the Cowboys to cover, but I would take the under. The over-under I saw was 55. I don't think it's going to be this offensive explosion just because it is week one and whatnot. 2 final ones for you, Sturch. First, what do you think we get from Dak Prescott? I mean, what kind of performance do you think? It's just, I don't mean so like he's average, but I don't think that we're getting, 350 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. I think we get the right kind of performance from Dak Prescott. I hate to call it the bus driver, the game manager, whatever, but I think it's the performance the team needs within the context of how the game unfolds.
I think it's more, what we had to go through last year when it comes to like Dalton and DiNucci and Gilbert and all these other, basically me, we all played quarterback last year at some point. But like the way I see it with Dak Prescott is what I'm looking for is mistake-free football. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to have the situation where he is completely, blindside overthrows Gallup and just throws a pick. Or I think he's gonna, if it's mistake-free football, that's the game I want. So even if he throws for 275 and 2, you know what I mean? I'm going to look at that and say, did we win the game? Was he mistake free? Are we all going to hold our breath and just really like grip our couches just that much harder when he takes off to run? Probably. We're going to be worried about that, but hopefully this boy just gets out of bounds. So.
Efficiency. That's what you're looking for.
Yes.
Efficiency.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Last one for you, Sturch. Bold prediction within reason, because you've predicted before that Micah Parsons is going to get an interception on Tom Brady. That is technically within reason, but my point is you can't come out here and be like, Micah's going to have 4 sacks and Randy's going to have 3 sacks of his own and DeMarcus Lawrence is going to have a scoop and score. Like, give us something that is tangible, that is possible, that could ultimately really happen on Thursday night, but that has a spicy taste of bold as well.
Ezekiel Elliott rushes for over 150 yards.
That is bold. Yeah,
I think this is the biggest revenge season for himself. He looks great. Obviously everybody's been tuned into Hard Knocks every week. If you're a Cowboys fan, and even if you're not a Cowboys fan, you can just see there's just a different demeanor about this guy. As much as I worry about that defense of Tampa being probably the best in the league, I feel like there's going to be a lot of paid attention to guys like, your outside threats of Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, even the 2 tight ends. Like the Cowboys are going to have to keep everybody honest. You know what I mean? And I think that Zeke is going to show some of that burst. And that is going to be one of those things where, throughout the course of the week, if we are in there and steal this game, people are going to be like, well, Zeke's about to rush for $2,000. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of game I expect out of Ezekiel Elliott.
I will say, I think that only happens if you get a big chunk somewhere. If he has
he's got to bust a 60 or something.
Yeah, he's got to have like a 56-yard touchdown or something that really goes a long way and maybe piles on in the fourth quarter.
Correct.
If he ran for $150 without Zach Martin, that would be a lot of fun. But actually, this is my last one. Do you have any? You mentioned gripping the couches. Any fun traditions you do? Something I do. I have the same. I've gotten more of them, but I have the same little mini helmet set I got when I was a kid. You remember the little quarter machines we all had in school? And I always take the 2 teams that are playing, even if it's not a Cowboys game, like Monday Night Football, whatever, and put them in front of the TV. It's just something I like to do. I've always done. You got any fun Sturch family traditions, that you do for a Cowboys game?
I mean, we have a massive studio here at Chop Sports with all these TVs hooked up, but there is not a doubt in my mind that I always watch the Cowboys with my dad and my brother. The first thing that comes out of my dad's mouth or my brother's mouth is same seats. Everybody getting your same seat. That we have always like, I'm over here on the couch to the corner, so I have enough room to run around if something good happens. And then my dad sits in his one seat. My brother sits in a solo chair, sits down. Like, we all have these seats where, win or lose, they're not like good luck seats. You know what I mean? Like they haven't won every game, obviously. Though. It's just tradition. We get in front of the TV, we yell. My bonus mom is there, and she's just, she's plugging her ears because we knows it gets loud in there. But that's really our tradition for every game. So no matter, there's not a bar in the world, there's no other place in the world I'd rather watch a Cowboy game than right there in my dad's living room, other than the Monday night home opener. I'll actually be in attendance.
I was going to say, Sturch will be at the Cowboys home opener taking place on Monday night. Thanks so much to Sturch for taking the time to join us. Don't know why that cut off weirdly like that. That's how sometimes things go around here. But to make it up to you, I do have the mini helmets that I told you about. That's right. These will be in the front of my television on Thursday night. Very excited for the Cowboys, obviously, to get the dub over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is actually an out-of-date Buccaneers helmet, which, hey, be better, RJ. Get the up-to-date one. What are you waiting for? That's the old chrome uniforms that the Bucs had a few years ago. But anyway, really great conversation there to kind of put in perspective the things that are going to be challenging for the Cowboys in this game. Obviously, the Bucs have so many offensive weapons, so many defensive weapons, but the Cowboys do have a lot to work with as well. That's something that Tom Brady really spoke about this week. He was kind of overly complimentary. Tom Brady was asked about Dak Prescott, but then he went on to talk about the Cowboys defense and how very good the Cowboys secondary is.
Yeah, mine was 2008. I got injured and I missed the whole year. Dak played a little more than I did his last year. He played, 4 or 5 games, had great 4 or 5 games. So he's a really talented player. really since the day he got in the league, he's shown to be a great leader of the team. And, we're just expecting him to play like Dak Prescott does. Very talented, moves in the pocket, throws a good ball. They got a lot of talented skill players. So for us offensively, we're going to have to do a good job putting our defense in a good position. I don't think we can give any extra possessions. Turnovers will be a big factor. Field position is going to be important. Getting off the field on third down and us staying on the field, keeping the ball out of their hands is going to be important. But they do a good job. Good running backs, good receivers, great offensive line. Dak's a great player, so they got one of the best offenses. Very talented defense. Linebackers are very deep at linebacker. They got a good push up front, and I think they have a very talented secondary. So it's a big challenge for our team.
Hopefully Brady's right. That's all I'll say about that. Tom Brady, obviously a player who the Cowboys are going to have a lot of attention on, who they're going to have to pay a lot of attention to. They're going to have to be incredibly focused on. He's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. There are other players on the Buccaneers, though, who the Cowboys are going to be or need to be mindful of. Who are the Cowboys going to have to want to watch out for? What a sentence. Who are the Cowboys going to have to watch out for? Let's dive into the film room with our friend Matt Minnick.
The story of last season was Tom Brady leaving the Patriots after 2 decades and promptly leading the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a Super Bowl victory. This season's story starts with the Dallas Cowboys taking on that same Bucs team on Thursday Night Football. The Cowboys' defense will face a major challenge. Tampa Bay's offense is loaded with talent, and Tom Brady is still very much got it. Now you might be thinking, but Matt, he's old. He doesn't have an arm for the deep ball anymore. Not true. Per Pro Football Focus, Brady was the only quarterback in the NFL to attempt more than 80 deep balls last season. He threw 91, and there were some beauties in there, like this 33-yard touchdown to Scotty Miller in the far corner of the end zone. And now you're thinking, yeah, Matt, but Brady can't run and create plays like the modern quarterback. Although Brady is not a scrambler, his movement in the pocket is elite, and he can take a hit and still deliver, like he did with this 44-yard completion to Chris Godwin. Of course, what makes Brady really special is his pinpoint accuracy. Coverage doesn't get much tighter than this, but Brady throws a perfect ball on the sideline that only Antonio Brown can make a play on. Not only that, his timing is impeccable. The Buccaneers' offense is tough, but not enough attention is paid to their defense. They have got a young, talented defense and the best pair of linebackers in the NFL in Devin White and Lavonte David. Both can make plays from sideline to sideline and are excellent in pass coverage. Here, Devin White wins with speed, getting to the outside for the TFL. And Lavonte David is even better. In this clip, Travis Kelce tries to push off to get open, but David is on him like glue. When the ball is thrown, he jumps underneath to swat it away. Taking on the defending Super Bowl champions in Week 1 will definitely let you know how far your team has come since last season. Keep an eye on how the Cowboys account for these top players on Thursday night.
Thanks so much to Matt for giving us some insight on some of the players on the Buccaneers to pay attention to. Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski. We've talked about the defense. Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaq Barrett, and Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, Lavonte David, Devin White. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, which is why this game feels so intimidating. Lavonte David is a player who is kind of slept on, so I'm really happy that Matt focused on him in our film room session this week. In fact, when Gerald McCoy did some interviews when he joined the Cowboys last year, he talked about Lavonte David and how he really never got a lot of shine and how he was really excited for, obviously, Tom Brady to join the Buccaneers to kind of elevate the Bucs and give players like Lavonte David more opportunities. Lavonte spoke this week as well and was very complimentary of the Dallas Cowboys offense.
And they got a real talented group with CD, Amari, Gallup, you got Zeke, Tony Pollard, tight ends, the offensive line, Dak, obviously. They present a challenge, man. It's present a challenge. So that's why I say it's got to be a collective thing. And then the the thing that makes them most dangerous is they got guys who make things happen when they got the ball in their hands. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know who to prepare for. Everybody can hurt you in certain ways. So it's definitely going to be, for us defensively, it's going to be a collective thing. But they definitely one of the most talented teams in the NFL.
Lavonte obviously knows that it's going to be a challenge to stop this offense, and everybody is excited to see this Cowboys team. How can you see this Cowboys team? If you did not know, this game is on Thursday, but it is technically not Thursday night football. If you're talking about the brand, Thursday night football technically starts next Thursday. It's that particular package. This game, as you'll note by the logo here, is technically the Sunday night football broadcast. It's Al Michaels, it's Chris Collinsworth, it's Michelle Tafoya, and their normal crew. We'll get Football Night in America beforehand with Tony Dungy and all the gang. And so it is technically, again, I'm sorry to be this guy, but it's technically Sunday night football on Thursday. Now, you can also listen to this game, as always, on the home of the Dallas Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. You can get the call with Brad Sham, Christy Scales, and Babe Loftenborg. Also, an incredible broadcast crew. Should be fun. This game also, all Sunday night games, by the way, this season can be streamed on Peacock. So if you have it to watch the Premier League and watch The Office, Parks and Rec, you can technically also stream this game if you're not home. You have your device with you. It's not an ad. It's just pointing out what stuff is in real life. But you'll note both teams 0-0. Very exciting times as the slate has been wiped clean at the beginning of this season. And I mentioned it that I have predicted the Cowboys to win. It's time to decide whether that's going to be 1-0, 0-1. And with the fact that I predicted the Cowboys to win, that kind of takes some of the drama out of this. But still, I have the Cowboys winning this game. I will take the under. Again, the last I've seen of it is 55. I don't think we're going to get an enormous amount of points. I think it's a handful of touchdowns. My final score, 27-23. Cowboys beating the Buccaneers. I could see that final Cowboys touchdown being a bit dramatic, maybe happening with like 6 to 5 minutes left in the game, and maybe the Cowboys defense comes up with a stop, something like that. This is week 1, and generally speaking, teams do need some time to kind of gel and catch up to their rhythm. Not every team plays a lot in the preseason. Obviously, Dak Prescott didn't play in the preseason, and I think we forget, Dak and CeeDee, obviously CeeDee Lamb, if you didn't know who I was talking about, haven't played a lot together, like in general. Yes, they've practiced together and stuff, but I mean, they didn't even play 5 full games together last year, didn't get an enormous amount of time at camp together with Dak throwing this year. And so those things are just interesting to watch. But ultimately, I think the Cowboys get through their first 2 games, counting this one against Tampa and next Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers, with a 1-1 record. But, it's week 1. We've been waiting all this time. I didn't show up here to pick the Cowboys to lose. I mean, are you kidding me? Hey, let's say it. Let's believe it. The Dallas Cowboys are going to win this game. Whatever happens in this game, we will be here right afterwards. As soon as the Cowboys game ends on Thursday night, come on over here to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Join our live post-game show. We will podcast that for you as well on the Blogging the Boys podcast network. If you have to listen on the go, maybe Friday morning, we'll have episodes all throughout the Blogging the Boys podcast network into the weekend, into next week, recapping the week, talking about it, analyzing it, discussing it, on and on. We'll have so many articles available for you at bloggingtheboys.com. We'll also have highlights from the game here on the channel on Friday morning. It's a busy time, and I know I keep saying this, but I want you to know, because I mean it from the bottom of my heart, this is the best time of year, and a big reason for that is every single one of us being together. We are a family of Dallas Cowboys fans, and it is time for our favorite part of the year to ultimately just shower us. Just shower us with Cowboys football. We're so pumped. I'm RJ Ochoa. You know me, of course, from bloggingtheboys.com, here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. We've waited forever for this. It's finally here. I'm so excited. Cowboys football's back. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great time watching the game, and we'll see you after.